The final score, Grimsby Town, Wrexham 3. I'm Mark Griffiths from Wrexham AFC, and that was something of a delight, especially with teams around us losing points, because we were in control pretty much from start to finish. No, why am I conditioning that? We were in control from start to finish. That was an excellent performance in a scenario we struggled in recently. And the ex-Wrexham centre-back Dave Artell is manager now of Grimsby, and he has stiffened them up consciously to try and make them more difficult to beat. And he's been succeeding in that. The last six matches, they've been unbeaten. They've been more direct. They've been difficult to play. This game was played in very blustery, windy conditions on the coast. And it's a sort of scenario where we have struggled, isn't it, in recent games away from home this season. And yes, this was totally different. Wrexham in control of it, as I said, from the beginning. Lovely to see a game in which it's essentially over so early on. In fact, you could make a case, considering Grimsby's lack of threat, that it was actually over after 8 minutes when Wrexham took the lead. But we'll get to that in a second. Three changes to Phil Parkinson's side. One enforced. Ryan Barnett injured, of course. Luke Bolton came in on the right. Ollie Palmer came in up front for Stephen Fletcher. And brilliantly, Tom O'Connor coming back from injury at the heart of midfield. And it's a slightly different setup in midfield as well. Cannon and O'Connor as double pivots with Lee ahead of them. And that trio dominated the game. Like I said, those difficult windy conditions meant that it was hard to get fluent football going. And it wasn't the prettiest of our performances, but it was emphatic at that stage of the season. That's what matters, I think. We were ruthless too, because we took chances. At one end, Wrexham looking terrific. At the other end, Grimsby kept it more than arm's length, ruthless versus toothless. And like I said, the opener came early in the 5th minute. Wrexham winning the ball, coming forwards. O'Connor wants to drive a shot in from distance as he drives through the middle of the pitch. Couldn't quite get the ball under control and lost it, but Cannon typically won it back, drove towards the edge of the D. And lovely, if you watch it from behind the goal, you see a great view of the way that he cuts suddenly to one side, deceiving a defender, and that opens up the space for him to hit it. He hits it, and well, the power beats the keeper. Harvey Cartwright, I think, should have done better, quite frankly. He's going low to his right. He's got both hands to it, but it has a lot of power, and the keeper doesn't do enough, and it ricochets up into the roof of the net, and Wrexham were ahead. Like I said, it was difficult to get momentum or fluency going in the blustery conditions, but we certainly weren't conceding any chances. Wrexham's defence and midfield keeping Grimsby well away from the danger area, and it was Wrexham who were making opportunities. Cleworth punching a good ball to Lee, who looked ahead of play. The Grimsby fans incensed, thinking he was offside. But when you actually look at the footage, their defensive line was so ragged. The players around Lee had all stepped up. The players on the far side of the pitch had sat back in. Lee definitely onside. He fed the ball inside to Mullin, who looked to play Palmer down the right channel, one-on-one with the keeper. Overhit it, though, and the keeper was able to beat Palmer to it. But Wrexham kept pushing and probing and defending solidly. A really good breakaway. Saw Lee win the ball in his own half, cut it inside to Bolton, who drove forwards, cut inside and found O'Connor. This time he was able to hit his shot from 25 yards, but he couldn't keep it down. But that breakaway was a precursor for what was to come 4 minutes later, when we scored a contender for goal of the season with a magnificent breakaway from a Grimsby set piece. It starts up with Elliot Lee winning the ball again. Mullin in his own half, wonderful skill, firstly to bring her under control, and then with a cute little drag back and shift to the side to beat his man deep in his own half and sends a perfect ball down the right-hand side. Tom O'Connor charging down the right, Andy Cannon busting a gut to get into the middle. O'Connor slides him and he just slips. If you look at it, he just slips as he plays it, but still manages to control the pace and feed a lovely ball into the path of Cannon. Right channel, one-on-one with the keeper, angle getting tighter every second, so he decides he's going to hit it first time and swivels and just slams it into the roof of the net. Cartwright almost looking like he raised his hands more to protect himself in case the ball hit him than trying to save it. Glorious, glorious goal. And 4 minutes later, another different kind of fine goal, and it's 3-0. The set piece in the end comes out to Jacob Mendy. His shot's deflected, and Mullin lurking back to goal just outside the 6-yard box, left of centre, with a wonderful instinctive strike. The keeper's going one way, and Mullin just, as he turns, hooks it in the other direction. and the keeper with his weight on one side just can't get back in time, and it's 3-0, and you just can't argue with that scoreline at that point in the game, or indeed at any other point in the game. There could have been more opportunities as well in the last minutes of the half. Well, straight away from the goal, pretty much, just showing Wrexham's direct, aggressive attitude. Wrexham win it back immediately. Mullin drives forwards and tries a shot, a low, powerful shot from a good 30 yards. Cartwright did well to get down and hold on to this one. Grimsby had their first shot of any note in the second minute of added time. Ball fed into the edge of the area. Wilson spinning on the edge of the box, hitting a shot which Concord got across to comfortably. And then the second half resumed with Wrexham with the win now more at our backs. And, well, create again, we're the team creating the chances. We did get a blow 5 minutes into the second half, and Jacob Mendy had to go off. It looked muscular. I haven't heard anything more about it than that. Callum McFadden comes on. Hopefully Mendy's felt something and has come off as a precaution. McFadden, who knew he'd be playing in the league this season, coming on, having finally been registered by Phil Parkinson, who must have looked in his crystal ball in midweek and decided that we needed him on the bench. And Wrexham, like I said, continued to go on. A long ball forwards. Palmer flicking it on perfectly. Mullin gets between the centre-backs and is one-on-one with the keeper, but the bounce defeats him. He gets there, but the ball's bouncing in the air, and by the time it's coming back down, the keeper's had enough time to come out and grab it before Mullin can play it. Then an excellent move. Cannon popping it to Lee with the return pass. Cannon driving forwards and trying to put Mullin one-on-one again. This time, a terrific piece of work by Doug Tharm, the ex-Wrexham centre-back, who just gets there ahead of Mullin, who looks like he might beat the keeper to this one. Cannon came off in the 71st minute. Wrexham playing with real control in the second half and not overcommitting and therefore not making as many chances. Luke Young came on to replace him. 5 minutes later, we had another opportunity. O'Connor with a good corner to the centre of the 6-yard box. O'Connell rose well, but the ball skidded off his head, went well wide. Elliot Lee at the far post actually made an attempt to get there and head the misheader in, but his marker managed to stay goal side of him and shield him away. There was a weird instance a couple of minutes later, 78th minute, when Paul Mullin off the ball went down, having run past Doug Tharm. Now, I've got to be honest, I was sort of looking at it at the time, even though it was a long way off the ball, and my first thought was, that's something of nothing. The replay was a bit peculiar. I think it's still something of nothing, but Mullin's like running off the ball towards Tharm, and you sort of think, oh, is Mullin just going to wind him up by nudging him as he goes past? But Tharm actually does look up and see him, and then there is a coming together, and at the end of that coming together, his elbow does come up in quite an odd manner, very quickly and up behind him. So, I don't know, if he made contact with Mullin, he's a bit lucky. But I like to think Doug's not that kind of boy. He's a nice lad. He's done commentary with me. So, yeah, I reckon it must have been an accident. Anyway, Wrexham continue to push on. Bolton again looking impressive, cutting inside, feeding a great ball to Lee on the edge of the area with a real chance to get a shot off, but his touch let him down on this occasion. And a couple of moments later, to the surprise of everyone, Grimsby pulled the goal back. Arthur Nahua has been consistently good against us over the years in the National League. Come on. And he was the only Grimsby player who showed any real threat. In fact, as Colin Henry said in the I Follow commentary, it says something when a guy comes on with 20 minutes left and they make him man of the match. I think that really does sum up how the home team went. But Nahua was threatening. He was cutting inside, driving in shots from the edge of the area, and he managed in the 9 minutes to go to score with one of those. Concord was disappointed, I think, that he'd let it get inside his near post. But to be fair, it's edge of the box. It's struck very well. It's right in the bottom corner. And I think it would require a good save to deny it. There was no real sense of panic after that. There was no real feeling that Grimsby were going to come back into it. And Wrexham made a chance soon afterwards. Another O'Connor corner. This time O'Connell gets a firm contact and nods it down to Boyle on the edge of the area. It was behind him, so he flicked the ball rather delicately in. And Mullin had a chance 6 yards out, but it came at him quickly, came at him too high, and he just couldn't control the header and it went over the bar. We made a couple of changes, 4 minutes left, just to freshen things up. Marius and Fletcher coming on for the front two, run themselves into the ground. And in the last minute, Grimsby could have got a goal back. It was Rogers, the centre back, coming forwards and driving in a shot, which was well blocked by Cleworth, but span wide to Thompson on the left side of the box. He really blasted it straight back in, and Obikwu at the far post, sort of far corner of the 6 yard box, slashed it over the bar. To be fair to him, though, it came at him across him very quickly, and he'd have had to have judged that to absolute perfection, and he didn't. So Wrexham very comfortable 3-1 winners. Looking through the performances, I mean, Okonkwo didn't have much to do, in all honesty. And although I think he may have blamed himself for the goal, personally, I don't. Then also looking at the centre backs, the centre backs were excellent. I mean, O'Connell was massive. The way he was coming forwards, intercepting, taking control of play, his use of the ball. Cleworth did really well again as well, and is good on the ball and played some intelligent forward passes. I thought Will Boyle really was spectacularly good. Actually, I thought he really was dominant aerially and with his tackles. As just the three of them were very, very impressive. Luke Bolton deserves a lot of credit. He really started to show what he's about. He's got such a terrific burst of acceleration. It's scary. And a few times he was cutting past players and causing problems. He really likes to come inside, and a lot of decent passes to players on the edge of the box as well. And it was good. I mean, when he does that, he really facilitates Cleworth's overlapping as well. So that brings something to our attack on the right. On the left, Mendy was solid, spent a lot of game up the pitch. Shame he had to go off injured. But Fadgen did really well in the 40 minutes that he had. Considering the fact he's barely played all season, he was combative. He was really getting up the pitch. He was making a nuisance of himself and hassling defenders into mistakes. And he did some good defensive work as well. So McFadgen, I think, should look at that. Firstly, is a really good day at the office. And I think it's an excellent reflection of what Phil Parkinson was saying about midweek. What a really good professional. He's not had the chances. It looked like he's not even going to be registered. But when he's called upon, he comes in and he does a great job. In the centre of midfield, O'Connor, I thought it took a little bit of time to get into the swing of things in terms of his passing. But he was a real presence, isn't he? He tackles, he intercepts, he makes driving runs forwards. And he brought a bit of steel to the centre of midfield. He was very impressive and played some good balls, not least that fantastic assist to Cannon, who is definitely man of the match. I mean, Cannon was magnificent. Never mind the 2 goals, or he did score 2 goals. First time in his career he's done that. I mean, the truth of the matter is that he was just excellent. Every second ball he was winning, he seemed to be everywhere. Again, driving play forwards, but also, like I said, breaking play up for Grimsby. Absolutely outstanding performance by Cannon. Ahead of those two, Lee, again, didn't have a lot of creative impact, but when you look at it, some good moves came from him dropping deep and winning the ball. So again, he had his impact a little earlier in the move, maybe, than he often does. Up front, Mullin was excellent again. He really looked in the mood for it. Wonderful striker's finish. Quality finish. His 97th goal for Wrexham now. He overtakes Billy Ashcroft. Now, when you overtake Billy Ashcroft, you've been a good striker. But he was deeply impressive. And alongside him, what a shift Palmer put in. He was winning headers, combined well as ever with Mullin. And, late on in the second half, he's dropping so deep into midfield to win the ball, to support his defence. Tremendous, selfless performance by Palmer. Big game coming up on Friday. That was the right way to warm up for it. With a final score of Grimsby Town 1, Wrexham 3, I'm Mark Griffiths from Wrexham AFC.